Yo, what's good? Today on the podcast, I had Erik Thorbeck. Erik is a workplace strategist and a skater. Please give it up for Erik Thorbeck.
In the land of China, people hardly got nothing at all.
No possessions?
And in China, they never go to church.
No religion too?
Or do magic.
Well, it's easy if you try, Dick.
2, 1. Okay, we're live. Erik, how are you doing? Thank you for coming over.
Hey man, yeah, I'm chilling.
Awesome.
Got a bit more energy this time.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Second time around, it's going good. It's Go Skate Day, man. How do you feel about that?
Feel good. It's time to skate.
Time to skate.
It's like not officially Go Skate Day. That was yesterday, but
yeah,
I just got back from a work trip and I felt like I hadn't really had that much time to skate in a while, so I even just went and skated for like 30 minutes yesterday and just skated some flat.
Yeah.
Right before the sun goes down.
Where did you skate?
Just that plaza outside Jiao Tong University.
Oh
library.
yeah, like the little two-stair and the little like hubba. It's not a hubba, but it's like a outledge.
Yeah, that thing.
How do you like that skate? Were you skating by yourself?
Yeah,
because that's what I love about skateboarding is you can just go skate by yourself. Do you do that often, or is that like rare?
Nah, it's pretty rare. Like, I think for most of us, the fun of skateboarding is doing it with our friends and kind of feeding off of each other's motivations and excitement, you know? So if I do it by myself, it's more like I felt like I've just been sitting or like been focusing on work too much per day, like for that day. And it's, the thing about skateboarding, it's like this thing that kind of quiets your mind. Like you're not really thinking about anything else. There's like this sort of
if you have noise in your head and you can kind of just like silence the noise and like just be 100% focused on skateboarding.
Yeah, because sometimes people like, they leave work or they go do something. Maybe they do something with friends or whatever they do. They try to say like, okay, I'm not going to think about work. And some people can, but for a lot of people and myself included, it's like I'm always thinking about something or a million things.
Yeah.
And especially with how things are with, the digital world, you always have distractions coming in. So everybody kind of needs that thing that they do to sort of
remove
quiet
themselves.
their mind and just have this focus on this one thing that's, almost therapeutic to you.
Definitely. For me, that's been jump roping recently, actually.
Yeah.
I almost look at it as a form of meditation.
Yeah.
I'll like just, I have these weird, like sometimes there's just thoughts that like rumination. I don't know if you're familiar with ruminating, and it's just like over and over just thinking about something, and it becomes like painful almost to just be thinking about something all the time.
Yeah.
So and the way I've overcome that is like I challenge myself, like I'm going to try and stay in that ruminating. But what I do is I jump rope something so physically straining and like mentally challenging that it's like, okay, if you're not going to shut up and you're going to keep ruminating, let's see how hard you can really do this. It's like almost a psychological trick. Like, okay, let's see how hard you really want to go. And I'll jump rope for like 3 or 4 minutes at a time, not stopping. And it's like, all of a sudden it's been a minute where I've literally thought nothing about the music that's blasting into my ear. I like to listen to this artist Flume. He has this new album.
Yeah, Flume.
It goes all the way through. It's a very like, you can lose yourself while you're jump roping or doing any physical activity. So that's what's been so amazing for me recently.
Yeah. Do you get that from skateboarding too? Or
you know what? I think I might have used to, but I think I'll get that when I'm skating transition for sure. Because it's like, or if I'm trying to like do a line, but if you're just skating flat ground, it's very like one and done. Like you kind of like you skate across, you do your trick, and maybe you stop and you wait for other people and you're observing. So I don't exactly get lost in my mind when I'm skateboarding, but I will if I'm skating a park or if I'm like bombing a hill. Like continuous
the rhythm.
Concentration is what's needed for me to get to that meditative state. What about you? Do you think you reach like that meditative state through skateboarding, just skating flat? I don't know.
Skating flat, not so much unless you're like really in a rhythm and you do like a bunch of tricks in a row, or maybe you're playing skate with a friend. But if it's just me and myself, like doing one trick after another, it's more just about trying to get in that zone. But if I'm skating tranny, like I'm not even that good at tranny, but I was skating tranny at a park in Hong Kong this past week and trying to get better at it. And you start to feel that because it's just like, you're not really pushing that much. You're just kind of pumping and not to be cliche, but just like surfing the waves of the park,
Definitely. And
if you're filming a line too, you could get that, especially
like,
if it takes a while and you're like, you got the
Mm.
first couple of tricks down, and you just
Yeah,
you
it's
can
trying to
just
like
kinda
back
feel the
yourself
movement,
up.
you know?
There's like pressure on you to keep going.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So skateboarding. When did you get skate? Actually, you know what? Where are you from, Eric?
So I'm from Portland, Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
the northwest corner of the states.
Okay.
Yeah.
You grew up there, born in Portland, Oregon.
No, born in
Oh,
Boston,
right.
and
Yeah.
then moved to Portland at a pretty young age.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kind of typical reason to move to Portland. Had someone in the family that worked for Nike
Oh,
for a
Beavertown.
bit. Yeah, good old
Nike Town.
Beaverton. Yeah, have you been there?
I have been to Portland. I did not go to Beaverton necessarily. I think we might have drove past it on the highway. 'Cause as we were on our way to like the beach, you know.
Mhm.
So Portland's beautiful though. What I like about Portland is it does have a city vibe, and then very close is like a suburb vibe. So what were you
Mhm.
living in the city or in the suburbs?
No, I lived in Beaverton, the
Oh,
suburban
Beaverton.
part. Yeah.
So it's a town directly next to Portland, or
I
is
mean,
it
we don't even really think of it as a town.
you just
Like,
call it
everyone
Portland?
in that area just calls it Portland, and then
Mm.
it's like, oh, what part? Then oh, Beaverton.
Oh,
You know, it's
okay.
like, what part of Shanghai do you live in? Oh, I live in Shuhui, or I live in
Mm,
Chengdu.
mm,
Something like that. It feels more like a district, but there is definitely a different vibe, you know, from the city.
mm.
We had
Some
that typical kind of suburban skate park
Oh, okay.
upbringing. You skate at the park, and then you take the train downtown, try to
Mm,
film tricks downtown, but
yeah.
bomb hills downtown, and then come back to the park at the end of the day.
Well, what age did you get into skateboarding?
Like 13.
13?
Yeah.
How'd you get your first deck?
I had it for a while. I had a pretty bad one from, I think, Target or something, kind of like a lot of people. But
Hmm.
at the time, yeah, it was middle school, and I didn't really have a hobby. Like, I had, you know, I would play games online sometimes,
Mm,
and then I was just like a nerdy student that studied all the time, and would just kind of hang out with friends at school, but we didn't really have a lot in common.
mm,
And there was this kind of cool wave of skateboarding at the time. Like, a lot of people that were into the kind of traditional American sports, like American football and basketball, tried
mhm.
skateboarding. And I had a friend that I guess you could say was a bit more into those sports, but he tried skateboarding, and he was like, "Oh, Eric, like, you got to try this. Like, you know, this is super fun, and you can make some more friends,
Mm.
and you know, stop studying all the time." And so I tried it, and then he stopped, and I just kind of took it from there. But oh yeah, a lot of these people quit, and
Right.
yeah, but you make new friends, and you know,
Mm,
I think it kind of got me here in one sense or another.
yeah.
So
So you spent a lot of your times at the skate park making friends, or you made these friends just through school?
no, I think I was the only skateboarder at my school for a while,
Wow.
because I had a really small school. It was still a public school, but it was for like this it's called International Baccalaureate. So it was
Mm,
like the state was kind of experimenting with this new curriculum that would have you like graduate with college credit, and so then
mm.
you could get like, you know, credit and perhaps skip the first year of university.
And was this is the you transitioned into this school, correct? You weren't always in this program. Can,
No,
yeah, can you tell me the story about how you got into a different like what would you call it? District or was it a
uh
different school?
yeah. I mean, it didn't really apply to districts. It was more like, because Beaverton had its own district, but a lot of subject districts within that.
Mm,
But this school, it was like for anyone in the district, even I think anyone in the whole city of Portland. You just had to do a lottery
lottery
to get
system.
in, and so my mom didn't even tell me. And then one day she's like, "Hey, you won the lottery for this school, so I guess you're gonna learn Chinese next year and go to this new school that has like 150 people." I'm like,
Whoa.
"What?" So I wasn't hyped,
And
but
this is going from eighth grade into ninth grade, or what?
no, seventh to eighth.
Oh, so then from seventh, like so eighth grade is when this new school starts,
Yeah,
and then eighth to graduating is the program.
yeah. So it's middle and high school,
Interesting. Yeah,
but
because for me, middle school is 6, 7, 8, and then high school is 9, 10, 11, 12.
it's the same. But it's just like they're all in one.
Hmm.
You know,
Interesting.
it's just like having middle and high school in one place. Because if it was
Oh.
just one or the other, it probably wouldn't be enough people.
Hmm.
You know, now I think they have more people, but my graduating class was like 47.
Hmm.
So whereas
47
yeah,
people.
whereas the neighborhood high school was like 1,500
That's
or
insanity
something.
when you compare the numbers. Just like how much
Yeah.
more attention you're getting. I think it like you literally did win the lottery. Like
Yeah, I feel
people
like
talk
that.
about winning the lottery with money, but I mean, you got set up for the future in a way that you would not have had at the other school.
Yeah, definitely.
What were your classmates like? International background? Because Portland, Oregon in general is unfortunately known for being extremely white.
Yeah,
Like
it's
hands
super.
down, it's like the whitest state in the country.
Oh yeah, Portland is like 80% white. You
Yeah.
know, people
So
always have these visions of it as like this multicultural utopia, but then they go there and it's like, oh, it's just a bunch of white people
just a
with
bunch of white
beards.
dudes.
You know?
Not white dudes, but like people. But like
Yeah, yeah.
even also they were some of the most regressive or not they were the most unprogressive state to adapt jumping into like no racism. Is that correct? Like they held on to racism for quite a long time. Or
It's kind of
slavery
a
rather. Like the
no. I mean, it's a pretty messy history,
mm.
but they had this thing that said like, we're not going to have slavery because we're not going to have black people.
Oh,
That
yes,
that was
the
Oregon's
story.
thing when
Yeah,
it
it was just
was
like
became a state.
so basically it's like the highest form of segregation. Like
Uh,
like you
I
have
guess,
just
yeah.
segregation, not necessarily because it's that segregation. No, sorry, separate but equal. It's like we're gonna separate ourselves. Maybe was the mentality.
Yeah, I'm not really sure the full story, but I just
Mm.
know that like in certain parts of cities in Oregon nowadays, you still see more areas that are predominantly black,
Hmm.
and that's because of when the state did open up a little bit more, it was still a bit more segregated
Hmm.
in the cities, and with banks and redlining and not giving loans for African American families in certain districts. So, but you see that in cities all throughout the U.S. today.
Right.
I don't think that's super unique to Oregon.
Hmm.
It's just that we have less like African Americans and kind of multicultural people
Hmm.
for you to see that. So
Right. There's a term for it, and it's like institutional racism. I
yeah,
think that the
yeah.
term I always forget it, and I'm surprised I just remembered it. Institutional racism. It's it just happens over time, and it's just the way the society was kind of built to
hmm
maybe even if you don't consider yourself inherently racist, you're living in a society that unfortunately favors one group of people over the other.
hmm
Would you agree with that? Like that maybe is what has ended up happening because, as you said, people tend to have this energy of like, oh, we're a loving state, we welcome everyone, but then wait, why is it 80% white? So like it's like this isn't adding up necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, I think nowadays people's attitudes are in the right place,
Mm,
and it's just going to take some time for more people to move and
yeah.
but now it's a pretty welcoming
Mm.
place.
Okay, so we got to this question because I was asking about
Oh yeah, my
um,
my classmates.
your classmates and what type of mix there was. Because if it's a lottery, technically, I guess if it's truly, let's say the stat was 80% Portland is white, then maybe the true stat should have been 80% white. Did you feel that the way it
Mm,
was? Or
no, it was not 80% white. It
so
was like
tell me
maybe
about your classmates.
maybe 40% white.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot of Japanese, Chinese descent,
Hmm.
Korean, a lot of Indian, a lot of Hispanic.
Hmm.
It was pretty
So you
good.
had a true international upbringing. I mean, with your
High
classmates.
school, so to
High
say.
school international classmates.
Yeah.
But even they're not necessarily so international because they all grew up in America. They grew up, but maybe their family. Do you have any idea if they were first generation, these students, or probably maybe not?
Some were.
Mm,
Yeah, I had a girlfriend in high school and she was like second generation or like the first generation to be born in the US.
right.
But her family was from Taiwan and she
Mm,
would speak Chinese at home. But yeah, you had a lot of people like that.
okay.
But I mean they were never anything less than like fully American in my
Yeah,
eyes. I guess
culturally American, but when they go home, they have a different culture, maybe.
yeah. I guess I didn't really realize it until I dated a girl from Wisconsin a lot like many years later.
Mm,
But or I guess it kind of struck me at that point, but she was Chinese American, but she was like adopted by a white like
ah,
European descent family when she was really little.
mm,
And she would tell me these stories of people like always asking her, "Oh, where'd you learn English? Like you speak so well in Wisconsin." I'm just thinking, "What? Like really?"
why would
Because
you
I
ask
never,
that? Yeah.
even though like a lot of my extended family is from that part of the country, I never really. I always had classmates that were from here, there, and everywhere.
Hmm.
So it never kind of struck me as like, oh, you could see someone as any like if you go on any city in the States now, I can't tell you who's a foreigner and who's not.
Mm.
Like I just assume everyone's from some state,
Yeah, just a
unless
different part of
somebody's
the world.
wearing one of those shirts like on your Instagram, then
Yeah.
maybe they're from outside the States,
Or
but
they at least just don't speak English.
yeah. Yeah, but you tend to just kind of assume people are from around you unless they tell you otherwise.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely thankful for that though, because it was a good school, and it was like, if you wanted that quality from a private school, then no way we could have afforded that.
Right. The reason why I bring it up is because I was talking to Rodney Evans of Central Studios the other day, and his son is growing up as a very like an amazing, like you actually had the same, almost the same position. Like you're growing up with a network of international people, kind of like Rodney's son for sure. Like all of his friends from all over
Because he
the
grows up
world.
here,
He
right?
grows up here and he's fluent in Chinese from like a
Mm,
native IE, like their IE, like native Chinese speaker, fluent in Chinese, fluent in English. And then his network, his true social network in the city is kids that are from all over the world. So I think you're just immediately set up for success when you become a global citizen. And I think the first
mm,
step to you becoming a global citizen yourself was when you went to this school. So
yeah.
I want to talk about like your thoughts on that and how you started learning Chinese from such a young age.
Well, I mean, I don't think just going to a school like this makes you a global citizen. I could have just as easily taken Spanish
Hmm.
and just been like any other normal high school kid, but
Well, for
I
your
had parents that
specific
were like,
trajectory, it was the first step to becoming a global citizen.
yeah, yeah, I guess.
It like in hindsight is what I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
In hindsight, this is like the first thing that led you towards that path. So, like learning Chinese. I think you told me you were not so fond of it at first.
No one is.
Mm.
I mean, when you started, do you remember being hyped on it? Like, yeah, this is easy. This is tight.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's a daunting task. You're terrified by the characters because you can't even practice reading. You have to like learn pinyin, and then like I don't know. You tell me about it. Tell me about like what it was like in a school setting. Like you're forced to do it for grades. For me, when I'm learning right now, it's like I want to do it because like I feel like for business reasons, it's going to help me so much.
Mm-mm. Yeah, school. I mean, school is intense with it. The teacher was this older lady from Taiwan, and she had a very traditional approach to like, I'm gonna give you a test almost every day, and you're gonna
Mm.
like study. You're gonna go like write these characters 1,000 times by hand for your
Wow.
homework, and then I'm gonna like quiz you on them, and I'm gonna make sure you can write them.
Mm.
And so yeah, it was tough, and I definitely the first time I failed the class.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Mm.
first, my mom actually sent me a picture of my report card from the first semester of, 8th grade,
No
and
way.
there's like a F, big
Uh,
fat F for
um,
Mandarin 1, and,
oh
yeah,
man.
it's super funny now because here we are in
Yeah, and
Shanghai.
you're fluent. Like you're just like chilling,
But
going through it.
I guess the biggest advantage is the early start, and so you get enough of that drilling
Mm.
for a couple years in a row, and eventually, if you just keep doing something, it's gonna get easier,
Yeah.
even if you don't like it, and then once it gets easier, you start to like it, and
Mm.
you start to kind of feel a rhythm with it. And so by the time I was like 17, I got this scholarship to go to Beijing for a couple weeks.
And this is still in high school.
Yeah, this is still in high
Oh,
school.
so your first time going to China was Beijing while you were 17 in high school.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was basically just to take some classes for a week,
Hmm.
or no, no, not a week, like a month,
Okay.
and live with a family, and just to see if, oh, okay, like, can we get to the next level? Do we feel a bit more comfortable in this? And the
Hmm.
answer is totally no.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, going from classroom to Beijing, and Beijing is a very intense place.
Yeah.
I don't think Beijing is very easy if you're not fluent in Chinese.
Hmm.
I mean, now when I go there, I feel pretty comfortable in getting around, but and just doing everything. But
Did
yeah,
you feel you had culture shock when you first arrived?
yeah, definitely. I mean, before that, I'd never been to like New York or LA. The biggest
Oh,
city I had been to was maybe Seattle or
wow.
Denver,
So yeah, you never even been to a big city in
or like
America.
Minneapolis, which are all not that big.
Those are jokes compared to
Yeah.
Beijing and Shanghai.
And then you go to Beijing, and it's just like, wow, we've been driving 2 hours, and the city has never ended.
Yeah.
So yeah, Beijing is an acquired taste, I'll
An
say. But you
acquired
like
taste.
it more the more you go, at
Hmm.
least for me.
The more you familiar you become with the city,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, I can relate. Like I think it's just too spread out of a city, and it's not the same vibe for me. Shanghai is very convenient. and then maybe
Mhm.
Beijing is just not so convenient. So
Nah.
when you come to know the city more, you'll understand why it's good. But I want to talk more about your first impressions of China, because you're 17 years old and you say you maybe experienced culture shock. Like, can you give specific examples of do you remember anything that was like crazy when you first got there, just like different?
Ooh, just I mean, this is gonna sound typical, but just the amount of people
No,
and
these are
pack like density.
remember our listeners. They might have never been to China, so you
Yeah.
can explain the most basic things to them.
Yeah. Just from like lines at a train station
Mm,
to lines to get into a park to lines to get on the metro and then packing yourself into the metro.
yeah.
In Portland, the subway, you just take your bike on it. It's hardly ever.
Wow, completely
Yeah,
different.
you just walk on to these platforms that are on the street level and take your bike, take your scooter, take your
Mm,
skateboard, and no, it's never packed. You always have a seat.
mm.
And so all of a sudden cramming yourself onto a bus where it's like
Yeah, you're a sardine in a
yeah, you're
can.
a sardine. It's like, oh wow, like this is and then of course the heat, Beijing is super hot in the summer. Portland
Ooh,
is probably one of the most mild
nice
climates.
cool temperature. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that. So you definitely got like I think I got heat stroke
Wow,
once.
really.
Yeah, and just kind of like almost fainted
Mm,
just because of being outside. But and also I went skateboarding there, and I
mm.
was like, oh okay, well I can still skate here. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. But also one more thing on the culture of the food. What was your first impression of the food when you got to Beijing? Were you eating the local food, or do you remember just like being like, I need to stick to my Western food? Like,
Nah,
how did you play it?
I mean I was staying with a family, so I
Mm.
ate the local food. And the local food is
Oh,
pretty good.
right. So staying with the family, were you able to communicate with them? What was that like? Sleeping in just like a local Beijing home?
It was cool. They're nice.
Mm.
The mom was a teacher. The son was about my age. He was preparing to take the Gaokao, which is the university admissions test in
Gaokao,
China.
yeah.
So he couldn't hang out that much. He was like
Steady,
on
steady,
study
steady.
mode all the time.
Yeah.
The dad was an accountant. He was pretty cool, but he was traveling a lot.
Mm.
Yeah, we just played ping pong all the time, and
Really?
they'd take me to these kind of I guess street food places back when
Mm.
Beijing had them
Yeah.
by these man-made rivers in the
Mm.
city. And yeah, the cool thing about Beijing in the summer, it doesn't really rain, and you you can always do stuff outside and the sun is out
Mm-hmm.
pretty late.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's not the easiest first place to go, but
So you did your
it's
first bout of China, Beijing. Event you get back to America. Do you graduate high school and then you're on your way to college? What's the
yeah.
transition into college?
Yeah, transitioning to college. So basically, University of Oregon, so
Mm.
the state I'm from, Oregon, they had this program called the Language Flagship,
Hmm.
which was this kind of US government funded thing to get people like learning languages a different way. It was kind of experimental,
Hmm.
but they had it for a bunch of languages that the government wanted people to learn, like Russian, Arabic, and Hindi, Korean, Portuguese for Brazil. So with Chinese, they the whole point of it, whatever language you did, was that you had whatever your major was, and then you would kind of develop professionally level fluency in that language
Wow.
alongside whatever your major
Hmm.
was. So your final year would be spent at a university in that country,
Wow.
and you would do half the time taking like subject matter classes in that thing you were studying,
Hmm.
and then you would do an internship within that language environment. So you would kind of get both the academic and the sort of professional level immersion
That's
in it.
amazing. One more time for people that might want to look into this program. It's at University of Oregon, and the name of it was what?
So I wouldn't say look into it at U of O, but just
Hmm.
look into like what the language flagship is.
Language Flagship. That might be
Yeah,
a general term to
because
look into.
the language flagship kind of covers the whole thing, and so then you kind of search by language. It's
Hmm.
actually a program from the U.S. Department of Defense,
Wow.
and
So
they
it's a
have it.
government program.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So that's how they pay for this. Like part of the reason I was so into it is because I thought it was a free way to go travel.
That's
Go to
amazing.
China,
Yeah.
and it turned out to be.
Yeah. If I could go
Um,
back in time, I would do a program like that
yeah.
because it's just you're at such an advantage if you're able to speak any language, any second language. That's my biggest gripe with America is that like they don't
Mm,
push learning a second language hard enough. And I understand why. It's easy to get comfortable when everyone around you speaks English. But in Europe, it's very common that everyone speaks at least 2 languages because
Mhm.
you're just fully surrounded by different culture. In
Mhm.
America, the culture may be different state to state, but the language stays consistent. There's pros and cons to that, I think.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you get accepted to this program and you're on your way through college. Let's dive back into that. Like you're studying Chinese along the way. What was college life like for you? Like, did you enjoy it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. So University of Oregon, it's in this small town kinda it's called Eugene. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about still in the western part of Oregon, kinda near the coast,
Mm-hmm.
but, kinda more western central part. Typical Oregon, you know, surrounded you got an hour to the beach,
Mm-hmm.
the mountains are all around you,
Yeah, such an
lakes,
amazing
rivers,
place.
forests. You've been there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's just like a smaller version of Portland, really, and it's a good place to kind of, you know, have your close friends, but also
Mm-hmm.
be focused on studying. So I'd say it was fairly typical for a college town, but kind of, I guess as far as college life, yeah, I can't really complain. It
Mm.
was, I also just went there because it was the most affordable.
In-state tuition, buddy.
Yeah, in-state tuition, scholarships, and yeah, I mean, university is expensive now,
Oh, dude,
so.
it's getting crazy. What I'm most interested in is your relationship with China and university, because, like you already mentioned, you eventually will be spending your last year or last semester
Mhm.
at in China. So for university, you ended up going to Nanjing. Is that correct? Or like, what was the
Yeah.
timeline for you in China and university?
So, yeah, I studied urban planning, and I did classes at Nanjing University about halfway through my
Mm-hmm.
junior year, so 2015.
Mm-hmm.
From about January to June, I was in Nanjing at Nanjing University taking urban planning and design classes.
Okay.
And then for the second part of that, I lived in Chengdu and I worked for an urban planning and design institute.
Mm.
And so, yeah, that was kind of they call it the capstone year.
We
Uh,
had that term also at my school, capstone. It's
hmm.
like your final project.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, it was such a joke, the presentation I ended up giving.
What was yours?
Um, I did something about skateboarding. I can't even remember. It was just like you write some presentation about like marketing and skateboarding and maybe how you would. Oh, you know what? I had to build a website and like a
Hmm.
blog about and write about like certain things, like write posts. But you know what? Okay, so I myself probably unfortunately treated it as a joke, but it definitely, prepared me for what I do right now. Even like
You make
I
websites, you
make
make content,
websites,
you
I
know,
create content.
here we
So
are.
so like even though it's a good reminder of where you came from. How like I can go back and look at this WordPress like
Hmm.
like and look at how ridiculous it looks, but you have to start somewhere. So you
Yeah.
know what? At the end of the day, it was you do start somewhere, and if I feel like I grow, then I'm succeeding in what I'm doing.
Hmm.
So I guess that's a good, better, more positive perspective to look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, you end up in Chengdu. What was Chengdu like? Because I haven't been yet,
Chengdu,
man.
I always tell people it's the best city in China.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
You know, it's the chillest people. The vibe is like a lot slower than most cities, but it's
Mm,
kind of it's far enough away from Beijing and Shanghai and Hong Kong that it has its own sort of pull
hmm,
for the cities around it. It feels kind of more like a hub
hmm.
for there. You know, if you're in like, because there was some time in Nanjing, but the thing is, Nanjing, you never feel like this place is happening enough because you're so close to Shanghai. You'd be in
Yes.
Shanghai in like an hour or an hour and a half on the train.
Mm,
Same thing if you're in the north, you're closer to Beijing, things happening there, or the south, you're right by Hong Kong. So
mm.
Chengdu is kind of this sort of Wild West vibe of like, oh yeah, we're chilling here, like we're skateboarding, we're eating hot pot, doing our own thing,
Yeah.
riding bikes all over the place, hiking in Western Sichuan.
Yeah.
It's cool, and it's definitely a good place to learn.
Mm,
Like, I mean, I feel like the reason I was actually able to learn Chinese is because I was skating with Chinese skaters because there weren't really that many foreigners.
mm,
Certainly not that many, or if like only one or two that skated. And so we had this crew that would skate all the time, and
mm.
there are people you want to hang out with anyway. You know, if you're learning a language, it's like eventually you gotta just find people you'd want to hang out with, like you would in your home country. But it just so happens you're hanging out in that language, and you're not that different from these people.
Yeah, I
The cool
definitely
thing,
find that
yeah,
that's the easiest and honestly the only way to learn a language is
yeah,
by practicing it and fucking up and just keep speaking it and like making mistakes, but then having your homie be like, "Oh, just say it like this and blah blah
yeah.
blah." Like having like a language partner in a sense is super beneficial.
Or just a regular friend, you know,
Mm.
they become your
Yeah,
regular
yeah.
friends.
But I saw some YouTube video, and there's certain things that let's like air quotes language partner can help you with. They can actually not necessarily correct you, but what they
Mm.
do is they respond in the correct way.
Mm.
And they also don't like that was one of the biggest things that you don't want to be just told, oh, say it like this. No, they don't correct you, but they say it in the correct form, and then eventually you'll just start saying it like that. Um, Other things, apparently, it's not good for that person to be like your girlfriend or boyfriend.
Oh god, no.
Apparently, that's not a healthy relationship to have. You'd rather have that with a friend.
Yeah.
And there was some other like 6 key principles into like this one guy did a YouTube video like learning a language within 6 months. Like anyone can do it. And
What
I think
language did he do?
he was talking about Chinese.
Oh.
He was talking about Chinese actually. I'll try and find the link and maybe I can link it on the blog post I do for this. It was very helpful
From
for me.
0 to like fluent?
0 to fluent.
Wow.
6 months. There are these certain steps you can do. Another thing
Could
is
he
like
read and write?
yeah, read and write.
Damn.
And the way
That's the one that takes time with Chinese.
yeah, the way one of the interesting also things is like you don't want like for example, let's say Beidze is cup, and you when I was first starting, I would think Beidze cup like the English word for it, but that's not the correct way to do it. What you should do is be thinking of a visual image of a cup in your head. Don't think of the English word. You shouldn't associate it with an English word or your native language. You want to associate it with because right now, if you think cup, you associate that with an image in your head. So you want that same image in your head to be also associated with a Chinese word. So if you go about it like that, not trying to learn like associate it with the English word, because then think about it like from a logical standpoint. If your brain was a computer, you're doing like linking 2 things, 2 steps to get to the core root of your memory versus just bypassing the English word. So I found that very fascinating. That like he almost is like figuring out a way to hack his brain into learning quicker.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, and there's a couple other things, but that was the most interesting to me. All right, so eventually you make it to China. You graduate college. Actually, we could step back a little bit because I met you. Let's start with how I first met you. You were just
2015
or 2016, maybe it was 15.
15.
You're studying in Nanjing, and I don't even know who you are. You're just another person skating. I assume you live here, and you're just here on a trip.
No, because that was it was a trip, but Nanjing is so close to Shanghai, and Eden, one of our friends that I don't really see too much nowadays, he was one of my classmates in university, and he moved here to work at this skate shop called Fly, that we all used to go to a lot more. But so when I came to do that thing in Nanjing, I stayed with him in Shanghai for a week first and just skated and hung out. And he said,
so he was already living here when you were visiting.
Yeah.
Because he lived. Did you say he was a year older than you? Is that how that worked? Or he just graduated before you?
I think he was like 1 or 2.
So he graduated before you.
Yeah.
That's how he got out of the program quicker than you.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then he's living here. You're coming to visit.
He's living here, coming to visit, stay for like a week before going to Nanjing. And I met you. I met Brian. I met Johnny. I met a bunch of other people that are still friends today. We just skated for a week and hung out and was like, oh, this is cool. And then he told me, he's like, yeah, dude, you come back all the time. Like Nanjing is just up the road.
Was that your first introduction to Shanghai?
Yeah.
That was the first time you ever went to Shanghai?
Yeah.
Oh.
Skating.
Skate trip to Shanghai from Nanjing.
No. Like came to Shanghai first and then went to Nanjing. Like, because you always come here before.
Well, you always come here for the flight, but was it your first time exploring the city?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. And then eventually you go back to Nanjing. Do you have it in your head? Like, that's where I want to go. Like, that's what's next.
Nah, just that's where I want to go. Like every now and then on a weekend, because skating in Nanjing, like it's cool. We had a good crew, but Shanghai just has so many more spots.
Yeah.
And there's just so much more going on.
Definitely. I remember I met you at the center, I think.
Yeah. Oh, rest in peace.
Yeah. The center. That's a shame. The mani pad and like the two stairs, and you know what? Those ledges were historic. You know those like hip high
The
ledges.
tall ones.
Yeah. Did you ever actually skate those?
Yeah, I did like a no slide or two on it.
Yeah, I got 150/50 and I'm like, I'm out. I'm out. That thing is so high. But then like to see Rodrigo TX skate that thing,
Oh
like
my
it's like a
God.
curb. It's insane.
What did he do? The mirror lines.
He did some
right?
mirror lines on that thing. Yeah.
For this for people listening who don't really know, it's like this skateboarding ledge that's almost waist high.
It is waist high.
Even like jumping on it with your own 2 feet is kind of hard
Mm.
without a skateboard. And this is where we'd skate, just this plaza in the French concession neighborhood, pretty centrally located. Yeah, that thing used to have everything. We took it for granted so much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we still have good places to skate, but man, that was a special place.
It was. And I mean, then you had like Boom Boom right there and the Family Mart literally touching the spot, like on the grounds.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, it's funny how like, you're like, oh, we got to go skate the center today. I would give anything to have that full plaza like available to us now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the closest thing that we have is, I mean,
Chiba.
Shibao. And dude, I'm not going an hour out for it's an hour, dude. People talk it down. It depends on how you look at it.
I mean, I live a bit closer than you, but yeah, it's not the same
not
accessibility as
convenient.
before. Still good, but yeah, we don't have that kind of centrally located community
Yeah.
center anymore that brings skaters together. Like we don't have a skate park. We have Binjung, which is falling apart. It's just for kids. We have a skate park that they keep kicking people out of, kind of far outside of town.
Yeah.
We have SMP. You got to pay a lot of money for. You
I have a
and no more
feeling-
LP. Like the overall, like what we all kind of came for, skateboarding, is changing.
Definitely changing.
So-
But I have a feeling it will pop up literally overnight once the hype of, because you know right now they're doing a reality show that Johnny Tang and some people are on. So
What's
first
the
episode,
deal with that?
the first episode just came out. You know have you seen the teaser for it?
No.
The teaser is so silly, man. It's literally like think of American Idol with like panel hosts and like there are people judging you as you're skateboarding, and it's like the name of the show is One Last Try, and it's just like the way Johnny explained it to me is like the cameras are on you literally 24/7. Like there's like 50 cameras on 50 individuals on the show, and basically they're not really filming, like they're not filming in terms of choreographed, but basically the amount of stuff, when you have 50 cameras, the stuff you can do with editing afterwards, you can create any story you want if you have that many angles and that many different people talking. And so basically what they did was just turn it into this cheese ball fest, like just like big, Chinese emotions and like, do you know what? Do you follow what I say? Like Rap of China. I don't know if you've seen any of
I've seen that.
It's just like a very different way to do TV. So that's what they're doing right now with that. But anyways, I'm getting back to my point. Regardless of whether you think that's bad or good for mainstream skateboarding or like core skateboarding, it's bringing skateboarding to the main stage, which will, I think, overnight provide a skate park somehow. I really do. Somehow Binjong will be rebuilt, and especially with the Olympics, because they just want to capitalize off of it.
Yeah, I mean, I have no issue with like skateboarding becoming more mainstream. Like so many people do it, and for so many kids, it kind of fills that void that they didn't quite have with a traditional sport or maybe something they did after school. It certainly did that for me. So if it could do that for more people, because there's might be a silly TV show, but if there's more kids skating than there weren't, and less kids playing games on their phones after school, then that's all fine with me. And if it leads to more skate parks, great.
Yeah. I do feel torn about it because on the one hand, I think for me, skateboarding is so special because like when you find something that isn't mainstream and it becomes your own, you have a special connection with it. Because you like, it's silly, but you feel like, oh, this was mine. And like, I discovered it by myself in a way. So that's one reason why I think it's special to me and everyone else who discovered it before it was mainstream. But on the other hand, I do think anything to get more people skating is a beautiful thing because it like just, you already said it, like just get people off their phones. Like I want to share the love of what skateboarding does for me with everyone else.
Yeah. And this thing has become so special to us, It's why we moved here. It's like what we do to kind of release stress at the end of the day. It's physical, it's creative. If more people can find the joy in that, then that's great.
Yeah.
So, and plus somebody showed it to you at one point,
Yeah. As much as
Somebody
I
always
say like,
introduced it to us. So who are we to say we should restrict it to, only a certain group of people?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that, but I'm just saying it's like special because, for example, the way I got my first skateboard is basically my nanny's son just gives me this busted old skateboard, and I had seen people like skating and ollieing up curbs like in the streets of New York City where I grew up,
Hmm.
and I see that I'm like, wow, that's amazing! Like just to see it in its cultural peak in the '90s,
Mm.
and that's how it's like a special story to me. And then I was given this 5 borough busted razor tail board, like complete with like thrashed trucks. The wheels are like went from probably like 52 to like 49 millimeter. You know what I mean? Just like,
It's like my wheels right now.
yeah. So just like given this true authentic experience to me, but that's my story. That doesn't need to be everyone else's story. It's just when you hear they found out about it through, like this Vita Coco sponsored,
Mhm.
like, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's just a different story. And I don't want to knock it as if it's a negative thing. It's just I'm very emotionally connected to my story about how I found skateboarding.
Yeah, I guess the cool thing about skateboarding is that because you can do it anywhere and everywhere,
Mm.
everyone's always going to have that one unique story
Mm.
with it. You know, for me, it was like a combination of this skate park and also this parking garage thing that wasn't even that close to my house. It was like
Mm.
30-minute walk and just meet people and skate in this parking lot with a couple of manual pads and stairs and get kicked out and then go to the school and skate there. And, everyone's going to have that, whether it's a skate park or a parking lot or some
Mm.
gym or some
Right.
professional training facility,
Well, I think that's the most beautiful part about skateboarding
some
is that
curb.
is you can literally skid a curb. Like I remember just even finding a traffic cone. I'm like, yeah, dude, this is sick. I
Yeah.
learned how to ollie it over it sideways, like long ways, highways, like doing. Then you just do back 180s, and oh, can
Hmm.
I nollie back one it? Like, can I do this, that, or the other? And then I, I would skate my driveway entrance. Like, how it's the tiny curves that like feels like a mini ramp. I'll just like
Hmm.
fuck around with it like that. Like you
Yeah.
you can look at everything so much differently. I remember when I did my first kickflip, like just skating on my sidewalk was so much harder because the cracks and like you don't think like, oh, I can do it over here to smoother ground, maybe it'll make it easy. But like when you're young and dumb, you're like just trying to
Trying to do
you
it.
try you learn by yourself, which is like
Uh-huh.
I think a huge part of why a lot of skaters actually end up being successful because of the life lessons that I've learned through
You mean
skateboarding.
successful like in areas other than skateboarding?
Yeah, I truly I think
Mm.
that because you for me, I've self-taught almost all my tricks. I didn't have that like I had one other skater in town that's kind of like you look up to, but you don't it's like kind of like a little thing in skateboarding. You don't like go out of your way to explain the details, or this is my growing up at least. But the way I had to learn is I had to like watch and like kind of like copy and figure out myself like,
Mhm.
so you become a self-taught person. You become real.
Ah, you
This is what I'm
learn how to learn.
you learn how to learn. Exactly.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I'm trying to get at. Like if you can learn how to learn, you can apply it to everything else in life.
Yeah. And there's so much of skateboarding that's like, fuck it, like I'll just try it,
Mm,
see if it works. It might not work. Try to heel flip some big stair, try to like do this flip in, flip out. And
mm.
and if you try it enough, eventually you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
So
It's like
same thing
trial and
with
error.
yeah.
You just keep going. Oh, it didn't work when I placed my foot like that. Oh, my balance was off. Oh, I wasn't going fast enough. And but do you think that applies to your career? Like
Oh God,
trial and
so
error.
much, so much.
Mm,
I mean, yeah, I'm on like my third job now, and I guess it's all kind of been a process of trial and error. And
mm,
I've had my own kind of projects on the side, like everything from kind of volunteering and leading these community workouts to building a website for Shanghai skate spots, and now down to my job as I do workplace strategy for an
mm,
architecture firm called M Moser.
mhm,
um, yeah, there's just been so many times where you just like think you might be able to do something, like you saw something, you got inspired from someone else, kind of like skateboarding, and you're like, well, like I'm not really sure how that works, but I think I could figure it out if I
mm,
just like watch it enough, try these things. And yeah, I mean, I learned how to build websites that way. I learned kind
mm,
of how to do like a bit of data science that way. Skateboarding, I learned that way.
mm,
Workouts and fitness and, you know, rock climbing, I learned
mm.
that way. Just all these things in life that you can do just by kind of having the same attitude about it. Not saying it's easy, but yeah, you learn how to learn,
You learn how to
you
learn.
learn how to fall and just over scrape up your knees and
Yeah. You got to
yeah,
get dirty to really
yeah,
be
yeah.
successful.
Skaters are good at that.
That's what I'm, yeah, I
Now that you
truly believe
mention,
that. Yeah. So let's dive into life in Shanghai a little bit because not many people really know what that's like. They might be from anywhere else in the world. So, you're a workplace strategist. Tell me what that means.
so like this company M Moser, we do like we're an architecture and design firm. We do all kinds of architecture, from the big buildings to office campuses to like
Mm,
parks and stuff. But most of what we do is office and workplace design.
mm,
But because designing an office is like a pretty complicated thing, it's not like just, oh, how many desks do I need? How big does it need to be? It's about how people work and how you get people into the right modes to
mm,
do what they need to do to succeed at work.
right.
And so that's like a very scientific process that we have. And we have this kind of set of tools and methods that basically evaluates how our clients and how their teams work. And then what we can do as designers to help them achieve those goals.
Mm,
Sometimes you don't even see it, but there's just things about these spaces that if a company is trying to be more collaborative or if they're trying to give people more space to focus or they
mm.
want people to have quicker meetings, you know, there's
I,
a way design can do this. And so that's kind of what I do is help lead them in that direction
mm,
and really discover what these goals of how they want to work are and how
mm.
we can do that, how we can translate that into the design.
I think that's really cool because I love the idea of collaborating with people. I think that's my favorite part about working is like, what are your needs? How can I help you? And in the
Hmm.
process, you get to learn about something very brand new and kind of get to like do brain exercises that are just fun and not boring, like maybe like just constant data collection and Excel sheets, but like it's like an interesting way to be creative.
Hmm.
The first place that comes to mind is Google. They have a very interesting way about the way they set up their offices, how they offer like free amazing food to people. They have ping pong tables all over the place, volleyball courts outside. Like,
Hmm.
are you familiar with their
Oh
campuses?
yeah, yeah,
It must be probably a big case study within the community.
yeah,
So
yeah, definitely.
do you like that work environment? Or like, have you guys done anything like that, or is it more on a smaller scale?
I'm sure we've done things like on the same scale.
Mm,
We're a lot bigger in Asia
mm,
than the States. Like we started in Hong Kong and now we're kind of all over the place. But yeah, I think most of our projects will be a bit smaller, more like a couple levels in an office tower
mm,
or maybe the occasional big campus here and there.
mm.
But yeah, it's all about people kind of helping them find the right balance
Yeah.
at work. Not everyone has a space for volleyball courts. Of
Yeah,
course, we'd all love that,
yeah, yeah.
but more just about what's the mental journey throughout the day
Mm,
and like what amount of time during the day do you need to spend doing, procedural work that's
mm.
more like focused and detail oriented? How
Wow.
much of your time do you need to be spending coming up with ideas and then
Mm,
translating those ideas into like a product roadmap? So we're always kind of paying attention to those and like how sort of the nature of work itself is changing,
mm.
not just for one
Yeah,
position, but for positions in companies all over the place. And
definitely.
that's why it's really fulfilling.
Yeah, right now we're
Y-
living in a time
Yeah,
where
work is changing.
work is becoming like
Here we are kind of working now. You could
yeah,
you could
yeah.
say
I'm able
this is your job.
to make this my job. It's absolutely amazing, and
Mhm.
I'm so grateful. And I'm looking at companies like WeWork who are developing co-working spaces. That's a huge industry right now.
Mhm.
Have you paid attention to co-working spaces?
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. I
Have
mean,
you?
we've done a lot of them
So
ourselves.
oh, that's amazing. Tell me about that. Like the process. Have you ever? Maybe you haven't worked on one yourself, but your company has. So, what do you think the process was like to work on a co-working space, which is meeting the needs of kind of an individual by individual basis versus like a company?
Well, it's more about like how much of your space is going to be just for individuals, the
Hmm.
freelancers like yourself coming in and needing to work for a couple hours. What kind of space do you need? Well, if
Hmm.
you, like, for example, you coming into WeWork, if you're going to WeWork, you probably are going there for one of two reasons. Like, you need a meeting room,
Hmm.
you want to have a meeting with someone, or you just need a space to focus.
Hmm.
And, like, whether, I don't know, whatever you do to focus, email, Maybe you need to fill in data on something. Maybe you need to do some expenses. Maybe you need to code something into the website.
Mm.
Maybe you need to write something. You need to be focused. So those are two very different kinds of spaces. And so that's kind of the process they take
Mm.
to designing that space. And then it works the best when you come in there, you don't have to think about it. You just find that space.
Mm.
And so then kind of scaling it up for, the different sizes of companies that use that space. Because it's not just freelancers. It's like small companies,
Yeah.
medium-sized
'Cause
companies, large
they'll
companies. They
buy
use,
a package probably. For
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
they're like, if it's a small company, they can buy a package where their employees are just able to go to different offices around the city or even the world.
Yeah, yeah. And we've designed a lot of spaces like that too.
Mm.
So, we partner with them every now and then. But
'Cause-
yeah, it's cool. And it's this process it's always improving too.
Mm. Yeah. Tell me about some failures. Because for me, I learn so much
Oh,
from my
God.
failures. And I'd really like to ask people that question because what I do is I write it down and make it a life lesson. And every time I decide to write down a new life lesson, I reflect on everything in that list. So do you share that mentality that failure is good when you can learn from it?
Um, yeah, I mean, you definitely learn from it. I think the West right now has, and I guess maybe China as well, but not as much, has this kind of obsession with failure and kind of glorifying it.
You know
I
what? It
think
actually is turning.
I think we've gone a bit too far.
I
and
I would agree
you
with
have
that.
people on these speaking tours like, I failed 1,000 times. Here I am teaching you how to fail. You got to fail too.
Yeah.
But just failing and being mindful of why, and then learning from it, because the point is to not fail again, right?
Mm.
So I'm trying to think of something for myself.
Well, for example,
there was one, I guess you could say, at I guess I don't want to say like the specific,
you don't need to say
company and
specifics. You can
people,
say the
but
lesson that you learned.
the lesson was that you can't assume people are taking responsibility for
Mm.
something,
Mm.
because most of the time they're not. And
Mhm.
sometimes you have to be the one to kind of own something.
Mm.
So I'd say the biggest lesson from a couple of these failures, if I had to combine them, was that don't assume someone else is owning something. And
Yeah.
whatever you work on, even if you're just taking a small part of it, take full ownership
Mm.
of it. And yeah, I've gotten heat in the past when I say, oh well, I only did like this part of it, and then it failed. And don't just say like, oh well, I only did 20%. Maybe the failure was due to this other thing. But say like, you know
Exactly.
what? Yeah, I accept that.
Yeah,
And
I agree
I
with
own
you.
this, and you know what? I know how to make it better.
Taking responsibility.
Yeah.
And just like, because it's really easy, like even if it's the truth, to say it's so and so's fault. Myself, one of my main jobs is being like a project manager for certain events or video production, and it's very easy, and it is usually the truth that it can be other people's fault. But at the end of the day, when I'm reporting to my boss, I have to take full
Yeah,
responsibility.
you're the project
Because
manager. It's your thing.
Yeah, it's my job to have made sure that those people do their job. So I messed up somewhere along the line by not making sure that they have the right tools and resources they needed to get their job done, or
Mhm.
communication should have been better. For example, recently, I think one of my my failures that I've learned from is like using WeChat for communication for business is just not good. Like when you're trying to keep everyone in the loop,
Mm.
like when, for example, I'm setting up an event in the past and I'm setting up all these different groups on WeChat, but in no other country do they use a social networking app to do business. Like you would never use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger to
Yeah.
stay and connect
With your clients,
with your
or
clients.
partners.
Yeah. So I really want to learn from that and hopefully, be very organized on email and create email threads. And instead of writing 10 WeChat messages a day in a group, you write one email a day.
God, yeah, that's just one of the realities to working in China. You
Yeah.
have to do everything through
Do-
WeChat.
does-
We have to do a lot of that ourselves.
Yeah. And so
know?
that's why I say this every time after every project, I got to do email more, but it's like WeChat is so incredibly convenient to
But
send these
email
messages.
may not be, you might wait a day to get a response as opposed to 10 minutes.
But this is what professionalism is. You should be on your email. This is the way it works. And people have like back and back conversations on email. I feel like in other countries, in like America or Europe. I really think
or maybe
email
just
is,
call them.
or just call them. That's another good
I don't
point.
like email. Email, I mean, for me is more like I get some official message about something. Like I get my confirmation of I booked a flight through my email, and it's like an official record. But if I'm just trying to get feedback on a design,
They'll just use
let's
WeChat.
let's call on WeChat and share screens through some other thing.
Well,
I don't
using
know, like-
WeChat as a calling app is no problem. But what I'm talking about is like I was sent budgets through WeChat that I have to
Oh, yeah.
approve. You know, I'm sent a budget that I have to approve through WeChat. I'm sent rundown of the day through WeChat, and we're going through versions and the files expire eventually. And it's
Yeah.
like, nah, this is not, I should not be allowing this to happen. Send me an email. I'm not going to respond to this on WeChat is like
Yeah.
what I have to say for the future about things like that. That's what you're right. You already did clarify it quite well to say, documents, official documents, like a reservation, or for me, it would be budgets. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just wish there was like a bit more separation between, WeChat just stays personal, and then you have some other equivalent of WeChat for work. We kind of have that. There's always.
Didn't you say you built an app recently?
Oh, but that's not for that. That's like a
exercise.
No, that's like something for my company. Basically, just to help us kind of utilize data from projects better.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
and learn for the future.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about health and fitness because I like what you do with FitFam. For me, I have been so.
Have you been to one?
No, but just personally, I'm so much more into fitness beyond like just skating, and I've been swimming and jump roping and looking at nutrition and making sure my rest and sleep is all on point. It's a circle of things that need to be in order. So I want to talk to you about the way you live your life when it comes to health and nutrition, and tell me about FitFam. You can start out with that.
Yeah, FitFam, so for people who don't know, is basically a community workout group. We lead free workouts in parks and universities and open space. Sometimes we partner with gyms all over town. It started as this group of people who just wanted to work out at this one track at this school in the French Concession, this university, and just
Jiaotong?
No, is like Shanghai Polytechnic University. They have a little campus in there. It's also an international school, Sino-British college. But anyway, they have this really good track and field, and so these friends, like I think it was 4 of them, would just get together to work out once or twice a week, and then more of them came, and eventually it was like, we got 30 people. Like, why don't we do this in another part of town? And then it just kind of ballooned into this thing. I think now we probably have like 10, 15 locations in Shanghai. I started going to it when they started doing it at Binjiang, West Bund, where we skate. Just because I got invited by a friend back when it was still pretty small. It was maybe like 5 people going to these workouts in the winter. But eventually I started leading them, and I still lead them once or twice a week at West Bund. So it's high intensity interval training, and that means like using your body weight against itself, in a way that works for people of all fitness levels. I mean, you have to have like a basic level of fitness, but the overall idea is that like it's going to be more fun if you're doing it with friends, and it's free. It's not something that you should have to make a lot of money to join a gym so you can be fit. Everyone kind of deserves a base level of fitness, and you can get that through something like this. So we expanded first to Beijing, then to Hong Kong, France, Malaysia, Singapore, Toronto, Vancouver, Los Angeles, Mexico City. There's probably more cities they're planning.
That's
Because
awesome.
kind of you have a lot of people come to Shanghai and do this, and then they move to other cities. And they're
They
like,
can take
I
it
want
with
to
them.
take it with me. And so we're it's really cool. I was in Hong Kong this past week, and I went to a couple workouts with FitFam there, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. You should try it sometime.
I should try it sometime. I just pay too much for a gym to justify going to a free workout. But my gym membership expires next week, and I will not be re-signing. And I do myself Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which I'm going to take up. And I really love that. I used to wrestle in high school. So getting back into something like that is very special, and it just feels good. But what I love about FitFam is it's like community based. Right now, everyone has their social networks online, but it's like you're very naturally creating a social network in a physical space, which I think
Yeah.
is super special in today's world. And the fact that it's free. Um, was this all the first time FitFam was done? Was it in Shanghai?
Yeah.
Or so
Yeah, it started here.
you were around from just the beginning.
No, I mean, not the earliest days. I joined maybe a year after that
So you
started.
maybe a year into when it started.
Yeah, and now it's like in its 4th year
Okay.
or 3rd and a half year or something.
But in its first year, like, because obviously that has a website, it's free. But what I love about it is it still can be monetized, right? Like you guys work with brands every
We're
now
not
and
gonna
then.
monetize it.
So then
That would defeat the
are
purpose.
are you on the board? Is there a board? Like, what is the structure of this? Because it seems to be something that's just taking a life of its own.
Yeah, I mean, we have like a governance structure. We have people that, we have a board. I'm not on it.
Mm.
I do mostly technical work for them. So like we have this 10-day challenge, and I kind of set up this system to track people's fitness test data and, find out how teams are doing and improving.
Mm.
So I do stuff like that, but I'm not one of the people that decides, what direction this is going to go. Sure, I could have a say if I needed to, but it's going to be free. It's free now. It's going to be free forever.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get some sponsorship money if we have like a party or something.
But what I think is
But
the money just goes back into the people. It's not about making a
Yeah,
profit. And
no.
and I agree with you. Like it shouldn't be about making money, but there's ways to make the program better
Yeah.
by getting money and putting it back into the program.
Oh, that's what you mean.
That's
by
what I mean. I'm not talking
monetizing.
about I'm talking. Yeah, I said it in a misleading way. But what I meant is like I know you've worked with brands like that sponsor, and maybe they sponsor the gym facility that you're using if you're using an indoor space, or maybe they sponsor equipment that you can use outside. I just think it's a great way for brands to get involved with something, and it's beneficial to everyone at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, brands love it. Gyms love it. We partner with them. If it's shitty winter here, we use their space in the winter. They let us use it. Maybe people see that they like their gym, and then they get a new member or two from it. If not, fine. It's usually still good publicity for them, but no one from our end paid for it.
Right.
So
That's the way it should
kind
stay.
of keeping the main goal and intent consistent.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean it's such a cool way to meet people and just enjoy yourself and relax. Like I truly believe that your greatest joy can kind of come from, I don't want to say fitness, but like just moving and exercising, and because it makes you healthy, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Whether that's skateboarding or that's this or that's biking or something else that people like to do, as long as you have that, I feel like you can just be a lot happier and better rounded person.
Well, listen, man, I think you said it very nicely right there. I'm really happy for what you're doing with FitFam and your workplace strategy job. And I think we should go out and skate and get some of our own fitness right now.
Let's do it.
Go skate day 2019. Can you tell me, and for the guests, how they can find out more about you? Because we didn't talk about it, but you can. I want you to tell people about your skate web map so they can learn about skateboarding in Shanghai, and also how they can find you on Instagram.
Instagram is just kind of a bunch of mediocre clips of me skateboarding. If you're interested, just my name, Erik Thorbeck, ErikThorbeck. The skate map, if you ever want to come to Shanghai, find out where to skate, where not to skate, when, just go to shanghai-spots.com. FitFam, if you want to join a workout, you want to find out if it's in your city, wefitfam.com. Check it out. If you're in Shanghai, just check it out and come to one of our workouts. Everyone's welcome. You don't need to be super fit. We have a lot of people that have actually lost a lot of weight, started from a pretty kind of overweight position, and now they're doing pretty well. Anything else?
That's it.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Good chatting today. Let's go skate.
Yeah, let's go skate. All right, guys. Peace out.
Peace.
Boom. That's it. Thanks so much for listening. I really am excited about how this podcast is turning out, but I can always improve. I would love to hear your feedback. If you want to reach out and suggest I talk about something specific or have a specific guest on, you can email me at shanghaiobserved@gmail.com. That is shanghaiobserved@gmail.com. Also, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by shanghaiobserved.com/shop. That's right, I'm plugging my own shop. It means so much that people already buy my stuff. If you want to support me, you can go to shanghaiobserved.com and buy a shirt or whatever's on there right now. Even if you buy a sticker, it really supports and helps me do what I love to do. I owe it all to you guys. Thank you so much for listening and supporting me. Thanks a bunch. Peace, guys. Also, if you enjoyed the intro and outro music, it was made by my brother, Danny Greenberg. You can go and check out his beats at soundcloud.com/estoric, ESTORIC. Okay, that's it for now. Peace.